"You think this scares me? Go ahead. Call your lawyer," she said, voice steady above the dull roar in her ears. Across the polished table, the woman with the rigid smile flicked her ringed fingers. "You're a nobody, you always have been." "Porsche money can't erase forged signatures," she shot back, sliding the manila envelope forward. "Try explaining these away under oath." One of the others reached for the papers with his perfectly manicured hand, lips tightening. "They're fakes," he spat. She locked eyes with her, face set. "You always said I wasn't worth anything. Guess that was your first mistake." No one breathed. The air in the room felt thick, electrified, a dozen eyes flicking from face to face. Someone knocked over a glass, water dripped into the silence. The woman's voice hissed, sharp and haughty, "You're going to regret this." She stood, fatigue gone. "Not this time, I brought backup." Before the storm hit this room, before the table became a battlefield and secrets came screaming to light, everything started with $42 and a condemned cottage outside Sedillo, New Mexico. Rain pounded the roof of the Chevy as Jessica clutched the steering wheel, thumb brushing the rough edge of her last ATM receipt, $42.16 blinking at her like a dare. Outside Sedillo lay ahead, just a scatter of sagging roofs and low-slung red mesas under thunder-heavy clouds. In the back, Sam, a mutt with a graying nose and oversized ears, whined against a suitcase taped shut by last month's desperation. "Jess," Sam huffed, nose smudging the fogged window, "are we getting out soon? It smells wet." Jessica forced a laugh, tension bleeding through. "Just a few more minutes, buddy," she said. "You'll get to pee on real grass." He groaned, tail thumping. "Better not be cactuses." Inside, she felt her muscles knot tighter. She de-left Albuquerque 2 hours ago after the property manager handed her a box of mail with a smirk. "Sorry, Jess, no extensions. Rules are rules," he'd said, counting rental listings like little deaths. No job, no home, just $42 and a dog who liked to talk back. The GPS chirped, "Turn right on Cal Verdes," and she swung past a faded turquoise gate choked by tumbleweeds. There, not so much a house as a carcass, boards slapped over busted windows, yellow tape peeling from the porch post. She pressed her forehead to the wheel. In her pocket, the phone buzzed. A text flashed from Vivian Cross, her stepmother since Jessica was 11 and her personal raincloud since. "You really shouldn't bother, Jess, it's condemned. I'll handle the auction with the county. Hope your next dog is less of a mutt." She could almost hear Vivian's over-enunciated vowels, slick and metallic. Jessica opened the door, let the rain slap her face, and hauled Sam onto the gravel. He sniffed the air, then barked at a crumpled lawn chair as if daring it to move. The memory clawed forward, the scorn in Vivian's voice at the wheel reading, flanked by her kids, Harrison and Ivy, both blazer-sharp and smug, mouths curling around words meant to cut. Mother always did have a soft spot for lost causes. Ivy had laughed, eyeing Jessica's worn sneakers. "Guess that tradition ends today." Harrison had joked about heritage as if she was just a wild branch on the family tree. A storm gust flung open the gate. The padlock on the cellar door, rusted and barely clinging, looked like it might snap under a sneeze. Somewhere an animal skittered beneath the porch. Sam growled softly. Jessica crouched by the sagging porch, brushing aside gravel and dust. That's when she saw it, odd scratches below the bottom stair, shallow grooves, almost like someone had pried up a board before. Sam nosed closer, then whined. "Secret dog code," she quipped, voice cracking. Lightning flashed, and for a second the interior of the decaying house showed its bones. If you've ever watched someone strip your dignity with a smile and hand you a pile of ruin, keep listening. Jessica drove her elbow against the swelling front door until it gave, and Sam skittered in ahead, nails clicking against warped linoleum. The inside smelled of rain, rot, and lavender mothballs, her grandmother's favorite. Jessica set her boxes down and blinked hard. The kitchen ceiling dipped, corners stained deeper than coffee, a calendar curled on the wall, fixed open to October 1987. That year her mother vanished from every photograph except those nobody cared to frame. She moved Sam's crate to the old walk-in closet off the master. The closet wall stuck out at a strange angle, as if someone had patched around a secret. Jessica grabbed the coat hook, too heavy for hollow board, and it wobbled under her grip. "Hey, Jess, look at this," Sam barked, nudging her hand with his nose. His tail swept through plaster dust, eyes fixed on a sliver along the wall. She pressed, felt the catch, and half the wall swung loose, musty air puffing into the room. Jessica stared at the cobwebbed dark beyond, heartbeat rattling in her chest. The dog whined, stepping back. Jessica reached inside with trembling fingers, brushing against something cold, file folders, the sharp edge of a tin box, brittle envelopes tied with string. Hook 2 landed. Tucked just inside the false wall, a stack of documents stamped in garish blue ink, legal pages, trusts, will drafts, some clipped with sticky notes in her late grandmother's slanted hand. Sam whined, but Jessica found her voice. "We're not sleeping yet, bud." A broken world outside, but now a glimmer of war. The walk to Discovery left Jessica's boots caked in red sand, dog tracking after her through sheets of lukewarm rain. In the Chevy, she wiped condensation from the mirror, rain a relentless metronome on metal. Thunder rolled as she replayed every word from the funeral reception 2 weeks ago. The smiling venom in Vivian's eyes, the way Ivy had offered Jessica a hard little smile, as if she pitied the classless stray in the faded thrift store dress. Harrison's cruel aside, "Don't worry, Jess, even condemned houses can be recycled," sharp as the first cut from a paper will. She jerked the gearshift. Sam whimpered, still unnerved. "You'll guard me, right?" she muttered, ruffling his soggy fur. "Cakes, not guards," he huffed, unimpressed. It was an old game, her speaking for the dog, but she clung to it, voice made real in the silence. Flashback, Jessica at 16, standing in the hallway as Vivian boxed up every photo of her mother, hedging the girl she'd replaced with piano trophies and ballet posters for Ivy. The new family bloomed like fungus. A Porsche in the driveway, private schools for Vivian's own, Jessica always reminded where she belonged, at the lip of luxury, never inside. Rain made the landscape a slash of ochre streaked by silver. Every power pole, every wind-carved sign looked like a ghost's warning. Jessica breathed dew, counted her heartbeats in triplets. $42, a home about to go on auction. They creaked up the steps, Sam making a show of sniffing every pile of damp plaster. The false wall opened as if it knew her hand, the chill inside raising bumps on her skin. There, among the folders, a velvet pouch gaped open. Keys, tiny, battered, numbered, marked for banks in Albuquerque, Santa Fe, Las Cruces, and Deming. Each tied with a faded ribbon, initials GC stitched into the hem. Jessica's eyes darted as she read the first legal page. Last will and testament. But this copy was signed almost a year after her grandmother had supposedly died. Sam's ears pricked forward. "What's in it, Jess?" He pawed a yellow legal pad, nose twitching. She peeled back the next sheet, blood surging hot. Pages of financial ledgers, trust fund assignments dated before and after the death certificate. Names blacked out. Scanned signatures that did not match. Handwriting on the envelope, "For Jessica only, don't trust the smiling ones." She shoved the bundle into her backpack, breath jagged. Outside, distant thunder growled, chasing secrets up from dirt and memory. Then on the wall, a row of old Polaroids, a much younger Jessica with her mother, laughing on these very steps. Ivy and Harrison, toddlers in matching coats, standing just apart, faces blank, almost wary. Vivian just behind, mouth flat as sheetrock, hand clinging possessive to their shoulders. The tip of courage poked through old fear. Jessica glanced at the clock, 12 hours lost. Auction in less than 2 days. "We need help, Sam," she whispered, tucking keys and documents deeper into her bag. The dog barked, brief and hopeful. A path forward creaked open. Jessica steered the battered Chevy through the squall toward Albuquerque as Sam snored on the passenger seat, blissfully oblivious to the storm she was stoking. She parked outside the beige brick Rambler where Kyle Durand, freelance reporter and notorious local thorn, lived behind a stack of newsprint and empty Coke cans. He opened the door in plaid pajama bottoms, phone clipped to one ear. "If you're selling cookies, make it quick. Deadline City." She held up the manila folder, arms trembling. "Not cookies, evidence, big fraud." He arched an eyebrow, glasses sliding down his nose. Sam barked, immediately sniffing the reporter's socks. Kyle ushered them in, eyes sharp now. "You the Jessica Cross from the Will Circus. Socials say you inherited a haunted barn." She sat, began feeding him documents while Sam curled by her foot. On the wall, photos of politicians with half-hidden stains and worse reputations. Kyle's hands moved fast as he scanned. These are originals. You're telling me the money never left the trust." Jessica took a shaky breath. "It looks like my stepmother gave forged copies at probate and sealed the originals. They show the will was changed after my grandma died. Signatures are fake. The trust fund should have gone to me." He leafed through legal jargon, shaking his head. $3 million across 4 banks, multiple safe deposit boxes. Only access is, he squinted at the keys, these. She nodded, voice barely audible. "Ivy and Harrison got all of it. Vivian," she told everyone I was strung out, "said I'd sell it for beer money. There's a sheriff's auction in less than 2 days. She wants this place." Kyle whistled. "She's got the county officials in her pocket. I know half the real estate page's dirty secrets." Jessica stiffened, dread pressing down. "Can you help me stop her?" He grinned too wide. "Oh, honey, I'll do you one better, but we gotta move. Court filings before noon tomorrow or it's over." A plan flickered in the dark. Rain eased, a pink bruise spreading in the sky as Jessica powered the engine. Sam panted, tail thumping. Tomorrow would bring daylight, maybe justice. The first call out drew lines in the sand. Jessica dialed the number stamped on a faded envelope, her grandmother's favorite lawyer, retired but still feared in probate circles. Holland speaking, rasped the voice, smoke thick. "If this is another telemarketer, save your breath." "It's Jessica Cross. My grandmother's will, there's a problem, I need help." A pause, then, "The real one or the copy your pretty stepmother paraded at probate?" Her hands shook as she described the documents, the keys, the safe deposit boxes. "Meet me at my office tonight, bring everything, and Jessica, don't trust anyone, not even your dog." She almost laughed, but then the old fear snapped at her heels. Sam whined, then barked. "He's jealous," she muttered, pocketing the keys with hands that sweated against cold metal. As she accelerated past the last gas station, headlights glared in her rear view, a black sedan, license plate familiar. Ivy drove with the same surgical precision as their mother, a smile that never reached her eyes. Jessica's phone vibrated, a text from Harrison. "Congrats on finding trash in the walls. Better keep quiet or you'll lose more than your cottage." She replied, fierce, "Only thing I'm losing is my patience." They reached Holland's office, oak-paneled, more tomb than workplace. Inside, the lawyer pressed nicotine-stained fingers together. "Show me," he said, no warmth. Jessica spread the folders. Sam sat behind her chair, eyes fixed on the door. Holland's eyebrows shot up. "You aren't bluffing. This overturns distribution. Your stepmother's signatures are off. Funds can be clawed back." Jessica exhaled. "Can we stop the auction?" He nodded, phone already in hand. "I'll file an emergency hold with the court. It'll buy a day, maybe 2, but be ready, the Cross family bites when cornered." The air sharpened, deadlines pressed close. Jessica barely slept. That morning, a county sheriff's cruiser staked out the mailbox, engine idling. She snapped photos of his badge just in case. Ivy's Porsche spun by at 10, window down so a glint of platinum hair scalded the day. Vivian emerged from the passenger side, lips pinched tight as twine. Jessica, she drawled, hands clasped, still chasing ghosts. County says you broke into the house. I could press charges. Jessica met her eyes but spoke to Sam. Amazing what you find behind walls, right? Vivian's smile faltered, Ivy rolling her eyes. Still play the victim card, Jess? Harrison's voice, smug and distant, floated from the sidewalk, phone already aiming for social media. Jessica reached in her pocket, squeezed the velvet pouch. She wanted to scream but whispered instead. Last chance, Vivian, walk away, or we all lose. Vivian's reply was silk over steel. You're bluffing, you always do. Lightning cracked as Jessica strode back inside, door slamming like a judge's gavel. They'd be back, but so would the truth. Kyle worked late into the night, phone never leaving his hand. Jessica hovered beside him, numbers blurring in her exhausted eyes. Story's already drafting, Jess. I'm blind copying 3 state outlets plus the Santa Fe Tribune. Anybody bribes the judge, it's front page. She hugged her knees, Sam sprawled on the faded rug. He reached over, why'd you keep fighting, when everyone said walk? Jessica tasted metal, memory rising, because my mother never quit, even when everybody wanted her gone. She swallowed, voice scraping out, because if I let them have this, I don't know who I am anymore. Kyle nodded, tapping out paragraphs. Smart, ruthless is for them, we go precise, we go loud. The plan danced before them, legal filings submitted, affidavits ready, witnesses lined up. At dawn they'd walk into that courthouse with every page. She watched sunrise burn orange against the red mesas, the air carrying lavender and dust. Sam licked her arm. We're almost free, aren't we? She whispered. The dog grinned his approval. The courthouse steps glimmered under harsh neon, every face either wary or bored, nerves fizzing under polite words. Jessica pulled the manila folder tight to her chest, shoes slipping on rain-wet stone. Vivian stood at the top, flanked by Ivy in a power suit and Harrison scrolling through his phone. Their lawyer, a hawk-faced woman with ice-blonde hair, gathered the family behind a wall of legal pads. Inside the courtroom, the judge eyed Jessica with the flat, indifferent gaze of a tired referee. Kyle slid onto the bench behind her. Don't flinch. Across the aisle, Vivian's mouth barely moved. You really want to do this, Jess? Go home, that's my advice. Jessica's voice was soft but unyielding. I doubt you'll want to once I'm finished. The judge called the case. Vivian's lawyer spoke first. Your Honor, the respondent, Miss Cross, is attempting to disrupt a lawful estate auction. My client followed all probate procedure. Jessica interrupted, rising so quickly her chair barked against the wood. Your Honor, I have evidence the will was forged after my grandmother's death. Signatures here don't match. There are keys to safe deposit boxes holding the trust. Vivian Cross had exclusive access to the house at the time. Vivian's facade cracked, a nervous twitch in one eyebrow. You're a nobody, Ivy spat from her seat, voice brittle. Judge lifted a hand, let her speak. Jessica handed over the envelope. Kyle watched, elbows trembling with the urge to intervene. The judge scanned, brow deepening. Counsel approach. Vivian's attorney conferred, voice rising. This is circumstantial, nothing links these to my client. Jessica locked eyes with Vivian, pouring 14 years of bitterness into a single look. You always said I wasn't worth anything. Guess that was your first mistake. Vivian hissed, you're going to regret crossing me. This isn't over. Jessica slid the folder across the table, voice clear, steady, each word a verdict. You think this scares me? Go ahead, call your lawyer. Harrison reached for the documents, hands trembling now. This is fake, right, Mom? His confidence collapsed under the glare of the judge. The courtroom felt electrified. Even the old bailiff had gone still. Vivian glanced around, desperation replacing arrogance. We're the Cross family. This will ruin us. The judge didn't blink. "Counsel, does your client have a counter-explanation for these signatures and these banking records?" Vivian's attorney stammered, face blanching. "Your Honor, we request a recess." The judge pounded the gavel. "Denied. The court will examine these documents immediately. Miss Cross, you will be sworn for testimony." Kyle's mouth twitched with grim satisfaction. "Endgame, you just checkmated M." Jessica felt wild laughter bubble up but choked it down. She focused on Sam, now pressed against the glass partition, tail beating nervously. The chaos rose, Vivian shouting, Ivy crying, Harrison pleading for his phone back from the security officer. Kyle caught Jessica's gaze. "You did it, that's yours now, all of it." The judge announced a 90-day stay on the auction, freezing all assets pending investigation and ordering an independent handwriting expert. Vivian was ordered to surrender her passport and appear before the court again in 72 hours. Jessica stood a little taller. The weight of $42 was gone. Vivian's final words spat like venom. "You'll pay for this, one way or another." Jessica turned, eyeing the hallway and the future beyond. "Not today," she said. Her voice didn't shake. There was no more left to take. Probate was reversed by the end of the month. Vivian, Ivy, and Harrison were ordered to return every dollar plus interest, with punitive damages assessed for the forgery. Their faces graced every local tabloid. Relatives in California cut ties both for the scandal and the spectacle. The Porsche, the lake cabin, and even the family trust fund gone within weeks to bank liens and court orders. Kyle's exposé ran statewide. Cross Family Falls estate fraud uncovered in small-town showdown. Jessica's quote, candid and unsentimental, led page 1. Neighbors drove by the property, heads craning out dusty truck windows, some honking, some just offering thumbs up that said more than words. Sam became a minor celebrity, every kid at the dog park wanting a selfie. Jessica found herself fielding emails from total strangers, some offering jobs, others just thanks. She used the settlement money after restoring the farmhouse to open a bakery cafe snug against the rebuilt porch. Book readings on Fridays, pie on Sundays, and a little hand-painted sign in the window, "Second chances served here." Her world no longer shrank to the edge of a torn ATM receipt. She hired 2 locals, grandmothers themselves, who taught her to bake the kind of cinnamon rolls the Cross family never tasted. One evening, rolling dough for the morning's loaves, she turned as Sam barreled in from the rain, paws wet but tail jubilant. She looked around the kitchen, every window pulsing with silver dusk and the laughter of friends. Moral bridges carved by loss can stand taller than anything built on lies. If you've ever had something stolen from you but fought anyway, let this be your reminder. It's not about the dollars, but the ground you hold in the end. You don't have to be a cross to carve your own way. Sometimes all you need is a key, a mutt, and enough grit to keep pushing until your redemption smells like home-baked bread. There were still quiet afternoons when Jessica would find herself lingering by the old closet wall, palm pressed to faded plaster, the hidden seam now invisible unless you knew exactly where to touch. Sometimes, she wondered what other secrets her grandmother had meant for her to find, or perhaps, what she'd wanted her to remember. The bitter fights and the courtroom scenes were slipping away. In their place grew new rituals. Sam curled by the oven, warm bread scenting the air, a radio humming low over rain tapping the farmhouse roof. It was close to closing one spring evening when the bell above the bakery door jangled twice, sharp as a stone hitting glass. Jessica wiped her hands on her apron, nerves prickling. It was nearly dark, and most folks in Sedillo knew better than to drop by unannounced after dusk. She moved toward the counter, Sam dogging at her heels. A man stood just inside, tall, weathered suit coat out of place among the flour bins and hand-lettered chalkboard. The lines around his eyes were deep and uncertain, mouth bending with the uncertainty of someone who'd rehearsed his words too many times. "May I help you?" Jessica kept her tone even, years of practice caution threading through her greeting. He cleared his throat, glancing down. "I'm looking for Jessica Cross." "You found her," she said, shifting to put the counter between them. Sam plopped down heavily on her foot, all 100 pounds of canine warning. The man hesitated, then pulled a dog-eared business card from his pocket. "I'm Marcus Sutherland. I represent Cobalt Trust in Santa Fe. You may not recognize the name." Jessica took the card, scanning it. "Should I?" He smiled, abashed. "Maybe not. We managed an old account set up by Gloria Cross, your grandmother. I apologize for the late hour, but there's a matter she wished to resolve personally in the event things ever came to light as they have." For a moment, Jessica just stared at him. The house felt suddenly very large and very silent behind her. "You mean the safe deposit keys?" He nodded, producing a stamped packet from his briefcase. "Exactly. Your attorney forwarded copies of the probate reversal. There's an additional fund left to you but set aside, inaccessible until certain contingencies were met." He coughed, embarrassed. Gloria had a fondness for puzzles, you might say. Jessica almost smiled at that. "She said never to trust the smiling ones," she murmured. Marcus's face twitched with a rueful grin. "She said I could be trusted exactly as far as I explained myself honestly, which, I told her, was farther than my competition but not much farther than her dog." A laugh sputtered out of Jessica despite herself. Sam, feeling the tension dissipate, thumped his tail approvingly. Marcus handed her the packet. "Everything inside's been cleared with the new court order. There's a letter for you, too. She wrote it herself, wanted you to have it only if you stood up for the house. For yourself." Jessica's hands trembled as she took the envelope, her grandmother's handwriting unmistakable. Sam cocked his head, waiting. "Read it, Jess." Jessica peeled open the thick paper, drawing out a single page. The ink was faded, but the words were fierce and looping, as bold at 80 as they'd been in her mother's old sketchbook. "My darling girl, if you're reading this, you broke through something no judge or paper thief could touch. You found your backbone, maybe even your courage. You are more than any secret or ruined house. There will always be people who want to decide what you're worth. They will measure you out by birth and by bitterness. Let them count and let them lose. This place is yours as long as you hold it without shame or apology. Don't be afraid of starting small or of starting over. All a cross really needs is a set of keys and a reason to stay. See you under the mesquites, whenever the wind changes. Gloria." Jessica read the letter twice, then folded it gently, thumb pressed to one last curl of ink, heart too full for speech. The bakery's lights, warm and golden, seemed to blur at the edges. Sam licked her wrist, whining low and content. "Thank you," she breathed to Marcus, and more to the woman whose ghost lingered in the lavender air. He tipped his head. "I'll leave you to it," he said quietly. "Anything you need, just call." He left as quietly as he arrived, door whispering shut, leaving Jessica alone in the soft hush. The next morning dawned cool and sweet, air scrubbed clean by a night rain. The bakery filled early, a pair of teachers fresh from morning duty, a sheep rancher who always paid in exact change, even Kyle, sagging with overwork and clutching what he called the breakfast of vindication, 3 cinnamon rolls and a mug of the strongest coffee in New Mexico. Word had long since gotten out. Sedillo, it turned out, wasn't above a little reverence for scandal, especially when things ended with pie instead of fistfights. Kyle leaned on the counter as Jessica poured him a refill. "You look lighter," he said, squinting at her over the rim. She nodded, sliding a fresh batch of rolls onto the cooling rack. "Somebody brought me another letter from Gloria last night. There's a second fund for fixing up this place and anything else." He whistled low. "You gonna travel, throw some money at the crosses just for fun?" Jessica smiled. "I think I'm staying, maybe build something that outlasts the drama for once." He grinned, sticky-fingered. Good, the world's got enough people who run. Stay here, bake bread, raise a ruckus when you have to. That's all anybody needs. Out the window, sunlight glinted off the old Chevy, her Chevy, now free and clear. Sam sprawled on the stoop, eyes half closed in bliss, dreaming of better days. Around lunchtime, as customers drifted in and out with cinnamon loaves in brown paper bags, Jessica noticed a silver SUV edging down the main road, windows tinted, chrome too bright for this place. For a moment, a fine old panic flared, Vivian Ivy Harrison, but it faded instantly. Vivian had been sentenced to community service and probation, her public face broken by shame and the need to sell the very jewelry she'd once sneered at Jessica for not owning. Ivy left for Lowe's Angels, where her socialite ambitions became footnotes in tabloids. Harrison had vanished into a remote real estate office outside Grant's, reputation tattered, inheritance gone. Jessica would never forget what they did, but she no longer flinched at their shadows. She stepped outside, letting the sun warm her. A pair of local kids raced past, shouting Sam's name, and the dog bounced to meet them, barking happy nonsense. One of the grandmothers she'd hired, Margot, called from the screen door. "Jess, you want me to post the new pie sign? Folks keep asking for apple pecan mash." Jessica grinned, rolling her eyes. "Let's do it. If anyone deserves the recipe, it's this town." Standing by the porch, she looked out past the rebuilt fence to where, once, tumbleweeds had nearly swallowed the cottage whole. Now, petunias and white yarrow lined the walk. The sky arched overhead, limitless blue. She remembered her mother, years distant, a good hug, a secret joke, a last look at this cottage before forced silences. She remembered Gloria, folding her into flowery arms, promising that stubbornness outlasted hurt. Inside, customers scattered laughter across sunlit walls. The aroma of cinnamon drifted through. Jessica joined them, apron dusted with flour, heart finally light. Evenings, she and Sam sometimes walked the old pasture, silence soft around their ankles, stars erupting overhead. Sometimes, when the wind caught just right, carrying lavender through open windows, Jessica almost thought she heard her grandmother's humming old lullabies through the kitchen wall. Sam would look up at her and huff, "Good choices today, Jess." She scratched his ear, smiling, "Not bad for a nobody, huh?" He licked her hand and they turned for home, the kind she'd built herself, not inherited or stolen, but earned, every inch and every key. Sometimes all you get is a fresh start, $42, and a mess to clean up. Sometimes that's enough. Spring passed gently into summer, and the days seemed to lengthen in celebration, sunlight pouring golden through bakery windows well past dinner. Jessica settled into her new rhythms. Dough before dawn, regulars arriving with sunrise stories, small-town headlines courtesy of Kyle's ever-busy thumbs. Word about the bakery, about Jessica, spread beyond Sedillo, trickling up to Albuquerque's glossy food blogs and down to little markets in the valley. Tourists came for nostalgia, left with cinnamon on their lips and stories about the heiress with the dog. One particular Saturday, as the air shimmered with grass and heat, Jessica found herself behind the counter, chatting with a teacher from the reservation school. They traded pie crust secrets over coffee when the bell chimed. An older woman paused in the doorway, smiled shyly, and offered a homemade jar of prickly pear jam. "For luck," she winked, glancing at Sam snoozing in the corner. "You gave us all a lesson in backbone, honey. Maybe next year you'll run for the school board." Jessica laughed freely now, full and warm. "Let me beat this quarter's muffin recipe first." As the sun dipped, Jessica locked up with Sam at her side. The world felt wider, and for the first time in her memory, inviting. The cottage next door had a new coat of blue paint and laughter trickled from its porch. She waved at Kyle, shuffling past with a stack of fresh newspapers and a satisfied, ink-smudged grin. He stopped. "You ever regret it, Jess? All that fighting, all this?" She looked down at Sam, who grinned up, tongue lolling. She thought back over storm and hunger and courtroom cold, over roof leaks and dusty closets and the slow, stubborn rebuilding. Not once, she said, not after what it got me. Kyle tipped his head in approval. That's the headline I'll remember. Jessica smiled, locking the door, her home bright with bread, laughter, and hope, the very things Vivian's money could never steal. The legacy left was more than legal victory, it was the belonging Jessica had always craved. Together with Sam, her loyal witness to every heartbreak and triumph, Jessica stepped into the indigo dusk. A fresh loaf under her arm, a letter folded close to her heart, and all of Sedillo stretching ahead, full of possibility and peace. She had crossed out nobody for good.